My sister screamed. You owe me your bonus because I'm a mom! And shockingly, my parents agreed, so I moved my money quietly and waited for her next outburst. I've always been the responsible one. You know the type, keeps his head down, doesn't cause drama, never asks for anything. My sister Amanda got the attention. I got the expectations. I wasn't brilliant or athletic, just consistent. Paid my way through school. Got a job in finance that slowly devoured my youth, but I stuck with it. No shortcuts, no handouts, and definitely no family favors. So when I earned a 6-figure bonus last year, the kind of bonus that comes from grinding 60-hour weeks for 10 years straight, I didn't shout it from the rooftops. I quietly paid off some debt, started planning for a down payment, and let myself feel, for once, like maybe I wasn't just surviving. I was winning. Of course, nothing in my family stays quiet for long. It was a Sunday dinner at my parents' house, one of those mandatory family bonding evenings where everyone pretends things are normal. Amanda was there, of course, with her 2 kids, both adorable, both sticky with applesauce, and both running absolute chaos through the house while she scrolled through her phone. I hadn't even sat down with my plate when she launched into it, voice sharp enough to cut through the noise. So, she said, with a smug little smirk, I heard someone got a bonus. I froze mid-bite. The table stilled. My mom tilted her head like a curious owl. My dad adjusted his glasses. Didn't think that would be public knowledge, I said carefully, stabbing at a piece of green bean. Amanda crossed her arms. Don't be coy, Matthew. You know exactly what I mean. 6 figures, right? Must be nice. It wasn't the words that got me. It was the tone. Mocking. Entitled. Like I'd won the lottery instead of trading years of my life for that money. But it got worse. You owe me your bonus, she said loud and clear, like it was the most natural thing in the world. Because I'm a mom. Everyone froze. I actually thought I misheard her. I looked at my mother, expecting her to intervene, to call out the absurdity of what had just been said. But no. Instead, she nodded, like Amanda had just quoted a line from scripture. She's right, Matt, Mom said, setting her fork down. Raising kids is harder than anything you do in an office. You have no idea what it takes. My dad chimed in. Family takes care of each other. It's not just about who earns what. Amanda's kids were shrieking over a tablet in the corner, oblivious. And there I was, holding a plate of roast chicken while my entire family tried to guilt me into handing over the single biggest achievement of my career. I didn't say a word. Not yet. I just smiled, nodded, and quietly cleaned my plate. But inside, something fundamental cracked. They had no idea what I was capable of when I finally decided I was done. The thing is, it wasn't Amanda's demand that shocked me the most. It was the look in my parents' eyes when she said it. Like she was the one who'd climbed the corporate ladder, skipped vacations, missed birthdays, and fought through burnout. Like they truly believed that motherhood alone gave her a moral claim over everything I'd earned. And for the first time, I realized something uncomfortable. This wasn't spontaneous. Amanda knew about the bonus. Somehow. And my parents? They weren't just going along with it. They'd probably been talking behind my back for days, maybe weeks. The dots started connecting faster than I could keep up with. A week earlier, my mom had texted me out of the blue. You should consider putting a little money aside for the kids. You know, their future. At the time, I assumed she meant a college fund. Now I realized she probably meant my money, not hers. And then there were the little comments Amanda had dropped in the past month. Must be nice to have no responsibilities. Some of us don't get to sleep in on Sundays. You'll never understand real stress until you're a parent. I'd laugh them off. She always had a flair for self-pity and martyrdom. But now it was clear, this wasn't spontaneous outrage. This was a pitch. A campaign. And I'd been too trusting to see it. That night, after dinner, I drove home in silence. No music. No podcast. Just the slow hum of realization that I had become, in their eyes, a resource. Not a son. Not a brother. A wallet. By the time I got back to my apartment, my stomach had settled into a quiet knot. I didn't feel anger. Not yet. I felt something colder. Something quieter. I knew what I had to do next, and it would start with one simple move. I was going to take back control. The next morning, I called in sick to work, which I never do. I needed the day. Not to wallow, but to act. Amanda wanted to make this about fairness, sacrifice, and family. Fine. I'd make it about boundaries. First, I logged into every financial account I had. My checking, my savings, the brokerage accounts, all of it. I created a brand new bank account at an entirely different institution and transferred the majority of my bonus there. Not just that, I automated it. Every paycheck from now on, split in half. Half to the old account, half to the new. Just in case. Next, I canceled the shared streaming subscriptions. Netflix, Hulu, even the old Spotify family plan that Amanda and my mom had been mooching off for years. A small thing, but symbolic. I didn't send a message. I didn't give a heads up. I just pulled the plug. Then came the slow cleanup. I reviewed every Venmo transaction from the past 2 years. Every time Amanda had forgotten her rent and I spotted her a few hundred. Every time she just needed a little help to cover daycare or groceries. I exported everything. Labeled it. Documented it in a neat little spreadsheet with dates, totals, and descriptions. Just in case. At one point, I opened an old group text, the fam, and scrolled through Amanda's messages. The passive-aggressive ones. The guilt trips. The humble brags disguised as cries for help. I screenshotted everything. Not to weaponize it, not yet. But to keep the truth safe. To remind myself this wasn't paranoia. This was a pattern. And as I worked, I felt something shift. Not rage. Not revenge. Just relief. No more second-guessing myself. No more apologizing for success. No more guilt every time I said no. I wasn't going to make a scene. I wasn't going to post a long message in the family group chat or storm into my parents' house demanding respect. I was just going to wait. Because I knew Amanda. And I knew it was only a matter of time before she asked for something bigger. And when she did, I'd be ready. 3 weeks passed. 3 blissful, silent weeks. No texts from Amanda. No. Can I borrow just $200 until Friday? No passive-aggressive jabs from my mom. It was so quiet, I almost wondered if they were scheming again. Or maybe they were just licking their wounds, realizing I wasn't going to play the role anymore. But then, like clockwork, Amanda showed up again. It was a Thursday night. I had just gotten back from work, microwaved leftovers on my lap, when I saw her name light up my phone. I let it ring out. Then again. Then came the text. Hey, can I ask you for a favor? Please don't ignore me. I stared at it for a moment, then replied. Depends what it is. She didn't waste time. It's for Ethan. He got invited to this robotics camp in California. It's such a huge opportunity, and all the kids from his class are going. But it's $3,200 and I can't swing that right now. I didn't reply. 10 minutes later. I know it's a lot. But you're doing great right now. And he's your nephew. You always say how important education is. There it was. The classic move. Wrapping entitlement in guilt-flavored paper and tying it up with a bow of emotional manipulation. But the part that really stuck out wasn't the ask, it was the assumption. She hadn't said, "Would you consider helping?" Or, "Is there any way you could chip in?" She expected me to foot the bill. I didn't respond that night. The next day, I got a group text from my mom. "Hi sweetie, Amanda told me about Ethan's robotics camp. What a wonderful opportunity. Maybe you could help, just this once. It would mean so much to him. To all of us." And then my dad. "Family takes care of each other, son. You're in a position to help. Don't forget where you came from." That one hit me differently. Don't forget where you came from. I remembered where I came from, all right. A childhood of hand-me-downs and shrugged-off achievements. A house where Amanda's tantrums got attention and my report cards got a distracted nod. I came from years of, "Can you help just this once?" Each, once, becoming a routine. I closed the group chat and opened a blank document. I titled it, "The Truth About Amanda." Then I began to write. Not a rant. Not a tantrum. Just facts. A full log of every dollar I had sent her in the last 3 years. Screenshots of her posting spa days and brunch selfies days after telling me she couldn't afford diapers. Text threads where she guilt-tripped me, belittled me, and made demands with zero regard for my life or circumstances. A full list of cancelled subscriptions, broken promises, and her own words. "Being a mom is harder than your job, so you owe me." It took me the whole weekend. When I finished, I drafted an email. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't emotional. It was cold, clear, and final. I laid out what I'd given, what I'd tolerated, and why, as of now, I was stepping away. No more money. No more help. Not because I didn't care, but because they didn't. I didn't send it. Not yet. Because I knew Amanda. I knew she wasn't done. And when she made her next move, the big one, I'd be ready to press send. It didn't take long. The following weekend, Amanda invited the whole family to dinner at our parents' house. The kind of gathering where everything's potluck, but she conveniently forgets to bring anything. I had no intention of going, but then my mother called and said, "Please, just come. Let's all be together, no drama." I almost laughed at that last part. Still, something told me to show up. Not out of obligation, but out of instinct. Like the final act of a bad play was about to begin, and I didn't want to miss it. When I walked in, the dining room was already full. My dad was carving roast beef like it was Thanksgiving, and Amanda was pouring wine like she was hosting a fundraiser. She looked up, smiled sweetly, and said, "You made it. I'm so glad." Too glad. Something was off. We sat. We ate. Chit-chat about weather, school, a neighbor's divorce, the usual. Then, as the plates were cleared and dessert hit the table, Amanda clinked her glass. "I actually have a little announcement," she said. I knew that tone. That syrupy, manufactured excitement. The calm before the storm. She stood, smoothing her shirt. "So, I've decided to finally go back to school. Finish my degree. It's something I've wanted to do for years, and I've been inspired by how hard my brother works." She gestured toward me, smile never reaching her eyes. "To finally invest in myself." There were polite claps. My mom beamed. My dad gave her a proud nod. And, Amanda continued, "Since we're all here, I just wanted to ask." And then she turned toward me. "Matthew, would you help support me? Just for the first year?" The room went quiet. "I mean, you're always saying how important education is," she said, laughing. "You could literally change my life. It's not that much for you. Not like you have a family or anything." There it was. A gut punch wrapped in a compliment. Not like you have a family? Like my lack of a wife or kids made me less worthy of my own money. Like I existed as a reserve fund for hers. Before I could speak, my mom chimed in. "She's trying to better herself. Can't you meet her halfway?" And my dad, ever the philosopher, added, "This is what families do. We invest in each other." I looked around the table. Amanda's smirk. My mother's expectant eyes. My father's detached approval. And I realized, they really thought I would fold. I set down my fork. Reached into my pocket. Pulled out my phone. I opened the email I drafted the week before, the one with all the receipts, all the details, all the truths. I stood up and cleared my throat. "No." Amanda blinked. "Excuse me?" "No," I said again, louder this time. "Not this time. Not ever again." My dad started to speak, but I raised a hand. "I'm not going to argue. I'm going to show you." I tapped send. All of their phones lit up, almost in unison. The room fell dead quiet as one by one, they checked their screens. My mother's smile faltered. Amanda's face slowly turned the color of her wine. My father's jaw locked. In that moment, you could hear the metaphorical house of cards collapse. Amanda looked up, her voice a whisper. You kept track? Yes, I said. Because you never did. I turned to my parents. You taught me to take care of my family. And I did. But you never said it had to be at the cost of my dignity. Silence. I picked up my coat. You want someone to fund your education? I said, looking at Amanda. Try FAFSA. And with that, I walked out the front door. For the first time in years, I felt free. I didn't expect fireworks when I left. I expected silence. Maybe some angry texts. A guilt trip or two. What I got instead was an avalanche. That night, I turned off my phone. I wanted to sleep, really sleep, for the first time in months without the dull ache of obligation dragging me down. And I did. Peacefully, dreamlessly. But when I woke up the next morning, 48 unread messages. The first were from Amanda. Wow. Way to humiliate me. You blindsided me in front of Mom and Dad. You made me look like a beggar. As if she needed help with that. Then came my mom. You didn't have to be cruel. We're family, Matthew. You could have talked to us privately. Privately? After years of public demands, manipulation, and emotional ambushes over roast chicken? My father's message was the shortest of all. Disappointed in how you handled that. Thought you were better than this. There it was. Disappointed. The word they'd never used when Amanda dropped out of school. Or when she moved back home. Or when she'd burned through 3 jobs in 2 years. But I had embarrassed them, and that, apparently, was the real sin. I didn't respond. Instead, I got dressed, made a pot of coffee, and went about my day like nothing happened. Because for me, nothing had. What happened at that dinner wasn't a meltdown. It wasn't an explosion. It was a boundary, something long overdue. Over the next few days, things got stranger. Amanda deleted most of her social media posts. My mom stopped texting. My dad went silent. And then, a message from someone I hadn't heard from in years, my cousin Rachel. Hey. Just read the email. Good for you. You said what the rest of us have been too scared to say. We all saw it, Matt. You just had the spine to say it out loud. Turns out, my email had been forwarded. A lot. I started hearing from distant relatives, cousins, even an aunt who'd moved out of state. They all said the same thing. We always knew Amanda took advantage. We just didn't know how bad it was. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt seen. But the real surprise came a week later. A letter. Not an email. Not a text. A physical envelope in my mailbox, addressed in Amanda's handwriting. Inside, 1 sheet of lined paper. No theatrics. No apologies. Just, you made your point. Loud and clear. I hope you're happy. I folded it in half, tossed it in the drawer, and didn't reply. Because I was happy. It's strange how quiet life gets when you finally unplug from the noise. No frantic texts. No surprise bills. No sudden emergencies that somehow always required my help. Just silence. At first, I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. A confrontation. A last-ditch attempt to pull me back in. But it never came. Amanda went dark. My parents sulked in the shadows. And I got something I hadn't had in years: space. I started walking after work. Long, aimless walks through neighborhoods I used to rush past. I picked up my guitar again. Even started planning that solo trip I'd always postponed. No one to ask permission from, no one to pay for but myself. It's amazing what happens when you stop being everyone's backup plan. You start to feel like the main character in your own life. I didn't hate them. Not even Amanda. But I didn't miss them either. Not like before. And that, I realized, was freedom. It was a gray Saturday afternoon when she showed up. I was halfway through organizing my office, a task I'd been putting off for years, when the buzzer rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. No deliveries, no friends dropping by. I almost ignored it. But then a second buzz. Longer this time. I pressed the intercom. Yeah? A pause. Then a familiar voice, small and uncertain. Hey, it's me. Amanda. I didn't answer right away. Just stood there with my hand hovering over the button, heart thudding in that uncomfortable, defensive way it always did around her. Eventually, I buzzed her in. When I opened the door, she was standing there holding a paper bag from the bakery down the block. Like that would soften the landing. She looked tired, not in her usual exhausted mom sort of way, but in the way people look when the performance has run out. No makeup. No smile. Just Amanda. Raw. Unfiltered. Can I come in? She asked quietly. I stepped aside. She walked in like a guest, not like the sister who used to storm in and raid my fridge. She didn't sit until I gestured toward the couch. I'm not here to fight, she said, or ask for anything. That part caught me off guard. She set the bakery bag on the table between us and stared at it, as if it might do the talking for her. I needed to see you, she said. Because it's weird. Not having you around. Not hearing from you. Not yelling at you when you don't text back. I didn't say anything. She gave a short laugh. I deserved everything you said. All of it. And the email? That was brutal. But it wasn't wrong. That surprised me more than the visit itself. Amanda looked at me, really looked. You know, when you sent that email, Mom said you were being cruel. But when I read it, I realized you were just done pretending. And that's worse, in a way. You didn't yell. You just let go. She shook her head. It's weird how loud silence is when someone finally pulls away. For a moment, we sat there. Not as adversaries. Not even as siblings, really. Just as two people who had grown up in the same house, but somehow built lives in completely different languages. I don't expect you to forgive me, she said. I just wanted you to know. I'm not proud of how I acted. And I'm trying to change. I studied her. Her hands were trembling a little. Then, quietly, I asked, why now? She hesitated. Because I thought cutting me off would make me hate you. But it made me look at myself instead. And I didn't like what I saw. She stood. Anyway. That's all. I just needed to say it. She didn't hug me. She didn't cry. She just nodded once and walked out, leaving the bakery bag unopened on the table. When I finally opened it, there was a note inside. For everything I never thanked you for. And under it? A small receipt, folded once. It was a partial repayment, $200. Not much. But maybe a start. A few days after Amanda's visit, I got a letter in the mail. Not an envelope. A folded sheet of yellow legal paper, stuffed into my mailbox with no return address. I knew the handwriting right away, sharp, deliberate, always in blue ink. My father. I unfolded it slowly, expecting the usual, disappointment disguised as advice, another plea to be the bigger person. But it wasn't that. It was one paragraph. Just this. I read your email again. All of it. And I realized we stopped seeing you as a person a long time ago. Just a provider. That's on us. I don't expect anything from you. But I needed to say that, for once, I understand. No signature. No apology. Just understanding, scrawled like a man trying to rewrite history in a few careful lines. I didn't cry. But I did sit with it for a long time. It wasn't closure. Not really. But it was a crack in the wall. And maybe that's where healing starts.